Amutun Panatir,
Amutun Panatir,
Sawek Tuamintin Panatir,
Sawek Tuamintin Panatir,
Auduama,
Auduama,
Keti Paheru.
Keti Paheru.
The translation is thus:
Give yourself to God daily. Keep yourself for God daily. And may tomorrow be as today.
We give homage to the Creator,
who is like our Father, and who is like our Mother,
who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the Neturu Ra, who is the light of the heavens, the light of the inner planes, and the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light. For those who are blind to their parts of their place, position, and responsibility in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akaru, true of thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality. And in the moments of crisis and the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down, so it is, and so shall it be. Amen Ma'at.
Amen Ma'at.
Ma'akaru.
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 And Sid. Welcome out, everyone. It's been a minute. I haven't probably talked for about maybe 5 years. So take it easy on me. I think a little bit of laughter kind of gets everybody into the mood, and it kind of gets me into the mood. But I would like to give honor, you know what I mean, for the people that have been keeping up the tradition and the legacy, and to be able to give value to each and every one of us on the sit and have met. And I also like to give a shout out and energy to the Saru and the Royal Court and the initiates. Because it's hard getting up here talking and speaking your truth to everyone, because sometimes you feel like a comedian and you're like, oops, that just didn't go off well. And people might look at you like, oh man, but this was a whole process of getting into the notes and writing up what I wanted to say. And sometimes you're going like, hold up, it sounds good on paper, but when I say it out loud, I'm like, oh man, I gotta write this thing over. This is a mess, this is a travesty. Who would ever write such a thing? But I would like to introduce myself. I am the Kurheb Heseti Kepper. I've been with the temple for over 20 years. I'm a bioenergetic healer, African martial arts instructor, aromatherapist, and a reflexologist. Kurheb is just my title. Kurheb means lector priest, or what you would consider a ceremonial priest. So a lot of times when we're at Wetman Pet, I'm either doing the offerings for the Netaru or making sure that the offerings are accepted by the Netaru. And that's a powerful charge. That's why I have to put away all my fear, all my doubts, and be who I'm supposed to be to get this message across. So the Kurheb is represented by priests in the leopard skin, also in the soot, and the Hemet Netters wear the leopard skin. So I had to go into some deep thing about why our ancestors wanted to use the leopard skin as that particular priesthood. And that was deep. In the animal kingdom, leopards take their prey up into the trees. When it's in the trees symbolize heaven and earth. So basically, it's a conduit between what's down below and what's above. So basically, in those particular priesthoods, you are taking the offerings up into the heavens. So when I'm at Reverend Pet and I'm doing the rituals for all of us, I'm magnetizing it, I'm making it powerful, and then I'm sending that energy off into the heavens. All for us as a temple. Our ancestors always used symbols and animal characteristics to explain our divinity. For example, I was on vacation in Florida, and I had looked across the lake, and I saw a crane, and the crane was standing quite majestic, like it had a purple robe on, and it was just chilling. And it was on one leg, like this, and it wasn't moving. And I said, this is another point to find out one of the reasons why our ancestors chose the crane as a perfect representation of Jehuti. So as I was looking, this crane knew that I was watching it, and there was a whole lot of things going on, but that crane remained focused on the task at hand and stood there on one leg and didn't move. It was kind of like in a trance state. And I thought that that was very powerful. But then all of a sudden, it started to move across the lake. It kind of like stalked it, like it was stalking some type of prey. And I was wondering what kind of message was that coming from the divine? What did that represent? Maybe it represented balance in our life. Maybe that was my aunt. Because if you look at water, water can either be peaceful or water can actually kill you. So I had to reflect on what was being given to me. There is actually a Kemetic proverb that relates to what I had saw. As a rock in the seashore, stand firm and let not the dashing waves disturb you. Raise your head like a tower on a hill, and the arrows of fortune drop at your feet. In the instant of danger, the courage of your heart will sustain you, and the steadiness of your mind beareth you through. So as you can see, oracle is all around us. Oracle can be in a song. Oracle can come from talking to someone. Oracle can even come from movies or TV shows. They say that TV shows and movies are the new mythology. So let me get to today's lesson. Now it is time for us to harness. A couple of months back, I was on YouTube, and a clip from one of my childhood movies came across my feed. It was from the movie The Last Dragon. So how many people in here have seen The Last Dragon?
Showing up.
All right, that's what's up. Showing up. Let me get a showing up.
Showing up.
This movie right here changed my life. I was attracted to the wisdom, the martial arts, and the spiritual aspects of this movie. But what really drew me to this movie was the spiritual force, or the energy. They called it chi, or life force. But in our tradition, it is called sacral. But in that movie, it is called the glow. But we're going to get back to that in a moment. So for those of you that did not get or to see the movie, I'm going to give you a brief description of what the movie is about. The Last Dragon is a movie that came out in the 80s. This 84. The star of the movie is a young African-American martial artist named Leroy, who is on his journey to becoming a martial arts master. His arch nemesis in the movie, named Shogun, is a martial arts master that goes around from school to school, challenging the headmasters to become the baddest martial arts teacher in New York City. So when I saw this clip, it reminded me of what could be the goal of every Kemite in this room. Where's our personal power? Where's our scepter? Where's our glow? So in the words of Shown Up, are you warmed up yet, Leroy? So I'm going to take you in the beginning of this movie. In the beginning of this movie, Leroy is with his master. He's out there doing katas and all that type of stuff. And his master has a bow and arrow, and he's shooting arrows at him. And Leroy is basically chopping this down, chopping that down. And then all of a sudden, he catches the blue arrow in his hand. And his master comes to him and says, how did you know? How did you know that that was the blue arrow? And just like how Leroy, I'm giving you a little bit about him, I do not know, master. I do not know why I caught it. He said, oh, wow. He said, your training is done here. It's complete. He said, but master, you're not going to teach me anymore? No, your training is done. He said, but what do I do? You must find the master. But little did Leroy know, he was the master all along. That kind of reminds me of us here at the temple. We have all the tools. We have all the hekau. We have all the dances. We have all the rituals. We have all the meditations. We have all the yoga postures. But yet, sometimes, we still believe that we are not the masters. We are so powerful, but just like Leroy, we feel that we need more training. So as I dig deep into this particular movie, I feel that a lot of the things that are going on in this movie kind of relates to us as Kemites today. Another insight from the movie, Leroy has a brother. His brother is young, and his brother's a breakdancer. But Leroy, he's into the arts. Leroy's younger brother was like, you're corny. That's weird what you do. You gonna go ahead and do that? That's whack. But maybe that's some of us in this room. When we're at the cookouts, and they ask us, well, what are you into? What religion are you? And you say, I'm Kemite. Are you Kemite? Oh, you're going to hell. You should repent from that religion. Or are you in that religion that worship all those many gods? Even though they don't understand that. So I feel that most of our families are not into what we're into as Kemites. But we, in this particular room, are the black sheep of the family. We are the black gold of the family. Because as our relatives are into Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, we are honoring our ancestors. We are giving offerings to our ancestors. We are honoring our divinity. We are alleviating our ancestors' karmic debt, and that makes us the redemption of a bloodline. So let's get back to the movie. We take a look at Shown Up. He comes in the room, boom. He has his minions around him. And what does he say? Who's the baddest mofo around town? And what does his minions say? Shown Up. Now, let's take a deep look at that. Don't we do the same thing here at the temple? Don't we say, I am Jehuti, I am Haru, I am Aset, I am Haru. Isn't that Hekau? Isn't they're using powerful words of power to be able to get them through, to be able to believe in who they are? Isn't that some of the things that we do here at the particular temple? This movie was so magical because sometimes when Leroy was on his path and he was, doing certain things to try to find his master, which was himself, they would play, you are the last dragon, you have the power of the world. I probably messed it up. It's something like that. 40 years ago. But listen, wow, what did that represent? Was that the subconscious? Was that our ancestors? that are kind of rooting for us because we're the ones, and probably the only ones that are doing offerings on their behalf, alleviating their karmic debt? Who is that? That was so powerful. That was Hekau in the background. That is all of you in this room that say, yo, go ahead, guess what? You got it. We got you. We got your back. That's powerful. So let us get into the movie aspect. The thing that really, really like gelled it for me. It was the final scene of the movie. And Leroy and his arch nemesis were fighting. And Shono was getting the best of Leroy. He was putting that foot to you know what on Leroy. And he was taking Leroy and he was dumping in the water, trying to drown him. And he asked him, he said, who's the master? And Leroy had to reflect. He was like, oh, all this training. I just caught the blue arrow. This woman says that she thinks that I'm the master. And he's taking him and he's dumping him in the water. And he brings him up that last time. And he asks him, he says, who's the master? And Leroy said the most powerful thing in the whole daggone movie. I am. And then all of a sudden, Leroy had this glow about him. It was his power. It was his power and his perseverance to get him through. It was Leroy's time to harness. Just like us in this particular room, we are the children of Ra, right? So then we're supposed to glow. We're supposed to have that power. So you ask me, you say, well, how do we get that glow? What does that mean to glow? Well, think about it. We have all the knowledge. We have all the books. We have all the breathing techniques. We have all the postures. Now is it time to live our divinity. There are so many things going on in this world right now. I actually watched videos of robots that might be replacing humans. They had a robot from the Tesla that's worth $20,000 actually making drinks. This robot can actually fold clothes. So if we think about it, what's the need for humans anymore? What's the need for divinity anymore? Now we have these robots to actually replace humans. Just past week, we had another challenging situation. The port workers was on strike. It was like, all right, every one day is like a week backup at the ports. But then what had happened? They were able to get the port workers back. That could have been a catastrophe if it lasted for a week or 2 weeks. But maybe because of us in this particular room doing the work, everything was just all right. There was another thing that happened this past week in Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine shot a missile at a nuclear facility in Russia. And just think about that. That could have been disastrous, or that could have caused World War III. But, just as you know, everything was all right. This is all the work that we've been doing on behalf of the world. We are the black oil of the whole world, the elitists of the whole community. So, this is the point where I ask you, are you warmed up yet? So now let's get a little bit of talk about personal power and how we can all achieve the glow. Everybody do this for me. Get it.
This is circuit.
No, Army. That was what I'm doing, not what you're doing. You got your own community. Yes. Can you feel it? Can you feel that energy moving? Can you feel that personal power? So, some of the ways that we can increase our personal power is doing things that we don't like to do. I'm up here speaking, I don't like to do it, but I'm up here doing it because I'm charged to do it. So that increases my personal power. Waking up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, even though you don't want to, is another way on how to increase that personal power. Have the fortitude to get up and like, God, you know what? I'm going to go hit that do-ba-boo in the morning. No matter what. And I'm going to give you a little secret. The secret is that you have to treat every day anew. Each and every day is day one. If you could treat each and every day as day one, you can basically take the power of that and be able to push through. A lot of times we count down the days of like, all right, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, or whatever, and then you're like, God, I missed the 5th day. And the reason why is because it's not something that's new. It's every day should be a new challenge. So how do we increase this glow? I'm going to give you the secret. The secret is charisma. Charisma is the gift. When we increase our personal power, we increase our personal influence over people, places, and things. Let me give you an example. Just the other day, I was at the gym, minding my business. Did my workout, but my workout is dealt with when I'm doing the exercises. I'm going to say a nook min while I'm doing the exercises as opposed to counting outright or whatever, or I can say a nook haru while I'm doing the particular exercises. So as I was at the gym, I walked up onto the scale and a gentleman came up besides me and said, he says, how much do you weigh? And I said, I weigh 193 pounds. I used to be 195 pounds, but I only weigh 193 pounds. And he said, oh man. I said, I didn't want to lose the weight, but I lost the weight. I said, why don't you get up here and see how much you weigh? And he got up there and he saw how much he weighed. He said, oh man, seemed like the scale, I went off the scale. He said, I'm fat. I said, nah, man, you're not fat, man. Don't worry about it. You'll get it. And he said, you know what? Go over to the juice bar. Get yourself a drink. I'm the owner. Don't worry about it. I got you. And just because I had that social connection with him or whatever, I'm getting a free drink. Isn't that what second and personal power is? To be able to influence, to be able to get your way. Now, I wasn't trying to get my way, but just in general, he liked my energy, and he was like, go ahead, take that drink. I got you. And another example of being able to utilize your charisma is talking to people. And sometimes I struggle with that, but then again, I don't struggle with it because, I'm having a conversation one-on-one. And I'm not up here doing the communion. I already did that. Now y'all got it, right? All right. So, another thing, I do ride share for a living. And a lot of times, when you're doing ride share, like between the hours of like 9 o'clock, I would say like 4 o'clock in the morning all the way up to like 10 o'clock in the morning is your busiest times. And after that, everything drops off, and then all of a sudden you ain't really making any money anymore. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh man, there was one day when I was out there, and then early in the morning, I had a few jobs, but then throughout the rest of the day, I wasn't getting anything. And I had to realize, I was like, all right, what can I do in this particular situation? All right, let's go back to the tools, right? Let's go back to the charisma. But you know what the secret is to this whole thing? I'm going to give you the secret to the whole thing in life. How to get your glow. You know what it is? Feeling good. Feeling good as possible is being able to change one mental state into another mental state. So what did I do? I said, you know what? I'm going to feel good. I'm going to start laughing. Let me play some music. I get some more work. So I started to do that. And then all of a sudden, bling, 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 $30 trip this way. Bling, 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 $30 trip this way. I got $60 an hour. I'm like, oh man, I'm on a roll. So wow, I just figured this out. So anytime like I'm in self-doubt, anytime I'm in depression, even though sometimes I might not be confident in myself, I gotta go back to that. I gotta go back to Feeling good. Feeling good is the power. Feeling good is the glow. Feeling good is what we're all looking for in life, period. We have a lot of different things that kind of like can take us off our path. But at the end of the day, we all want to feel good. So a lot of times I have to think to myself, like, all right, you know what? Let me get in the gym. Let me stretch. Because if I feel like I'm old and I walk like I'm old, I damn for sure I'm old. Right? Right, Armin? That was for you. I know you're not, but I'm saying you always tell me I'm old. You're like, girl, you old. You know what? Got you. But listen, the flexibility is where the power lies too. You know? And, you know, a lot of times we could be walking around and our backs be hurting and all that type of stuff because the energy is stuck. When stuck energy is not moving, everything in life is going to be stuck. So we have to be able to get into our yoga and our yoga postures with our breath. That's another way on how to increase our personal power. So I say all that to say, you know, this has been a life-changing experience, and more than likely, I guess the more that I get on this path, the more communions I do, or whatever, the more confident I become. And that's all that is the most important thing for all of us here, is to be able to push through our challenges and to move forward in progress. So with that being stated, this is a short communion. This communion is over. All right, shoulder. All right, let us please stand. Can we say we live in peace and satisfaction? All right, let's say Shimon Matep. Brothers right over left, sisters left over right. Bring it into the body. Bring it down to the navel area. We're going to start by with our right foot. Wa, Shanu, Shemet. Do our next one. Do our next one. Do our next one. Who's the master?
Do our Facebook and YouTube for joining us today. If you appreciate the message that you received from the Kerr Head today, we will appreciate your energy in return in the form of donations. Donations may be sent by Cash App, $ Temple of New, or by PayPal or Zelle, templeofnew@gmail.com. We appreciate your time, energy, and the reciprocity that you send to us. We will see you again in 2 weeks.